everybody. This is a brand new episode of Table Cheese. We should find like an intro for this. I'm one of your hosts of Table Cheese. I'm Dee.
I'm Anton.
I thought you were going to say the whole thing again.
Oh, Anton Sixx of the Chessy Controller-Twitch, professional podcaster at your service.
There it is. There it is. I'm not going to get tired of that. I'm not. I love it. You put yourself on blast every time. I love it. This is episode 4, right?
Yep. It's been a month.
It's been a month. Dude. Oh, my goodness. Happy anniversary.
Enjoying celebrating it in the best way I know how, talking into a microphone about it.
Hey, well, I got an energy drink in my hand, so I'm definitely feeling all of this.
I
all
got
the
some
feels right
seltzer
now.
water, so
Oh, is that what that is? I thought it was wine. All right. We don't have any real notes for the show this episode, but there are some things we do want to talk about. Me personally, I want to talk about perks and items you get for beating levels in video games, and why isn't that like the new norm instead of buying loot boxes and whatnot. And I know you got some things from Unity and making the first video game, and whatever pops up in between that, we'll get into it. But let's start with you, man. Let's talk about like this making a video game. Well,
all right.
What's up with that?
Today I drove all the way out to Decula, Georgia, out in like the far reaches of Gwinnett County to go to. So a few weeks ago I went to the Georgia Game Developers Association. They had an event with a bunch of small indie devs located in and around Atlanta, and so I went to that, and it was about breaking into the games industry. And so one of the things that they talked about a lot was going to game jams and talking to some of the developers that were there that had participated in game jams. They were working in Unity, and like we're always talking about Unreal Engine 5 and like the advances that are coming along with that, but Unity's also a huge tool set for game developers, and it seems like the more friendly one. Like when you think Unity, you think smaller games getting into bigger things, because the latest Atlas game that I've been playing, Soul Hackers 2, the opening splash screen has the Made with Unity like banner in it. So Unity, like the way I've heard it described is Unreal Engine is like starting at the top, and then you can downsize, working what you know how to work in, but like everything's there at the top, where Unity is like it's a good starting platform, and then you build up and up and up, and the sky's the limit for as far up as you can go with Unity. Whereas it seems like Unreal, you start in the sky and then find your way in like the little pockets of understanding that, like, and I mean this is down to the individual person or up to the studio level, like pretty much anybody developing games, like if they're not working in a proprietary tool set right now, they're working in Unreal or Unity. And Georgia just seems to have a big game development community centered around Unity.
And like I will say, like just to stop you for a second, like the biggest places for games that I've seen in the U.S. is Georgia and Philadelphia when it comes like to game and developing and gamers also. So like I know like
Santa Monica has a lot of developers, and then just outside the U.S., still in North America, Canada, like Montreal is like a hotbed of game development. Like can't throw a stone in Montreal and not hit game studio.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this one. I can feel the boards on Twitter hitting like, this motherfucker doesn't know nothing about no games. Like, yeah, I'm just saying, like, you know, from my perspective, outsider looking in, like from what I've seen, Philadelphia and Georgia, they're hot when it comes to gaming. But you're right, Montreal, Santa Monica, those are definitely big beds of places for video games. And for those of you who don't know, who are like myself, that are not as hardcore into gaming as Anton is, Unreal has some games that you guys may know about, like Shadow Conspiracy, Dreamhouse the game, Dragon Quest VIII, Quantum Error, Hell is Us, and when it comes to the Unity engine, there's games like the Beat Saber, like the 3D VR game, Pokemon Go, Cuphead.
The interesting thing with it is I was working in VR and I like developed a small 3D game today.
Nice.
But I saw tools for VR development. I saw like packaging stuff for like PlayStation, and it's all just kind of built into like it was a free download. I wasn't even on like I was on a laptop at a library that was like the library's laptop, and it was surprisingly easy to get everything up and running, and then
no confidentialities also, like no agreements you had to sign about seeing all this stuff there.
Oh no, I mean you could go to unity.com right now and
Okay.
download Unity and start working. Like this was just kind of like a community class at a
Wow.
library. It wasn't, like deep industry secrets kind of. It was yeah, I went to a
But
library
you
for 2 hours and sat in a room with some people who knew coding and were familiar with Unity, and it was me and one other person that were there for the class because it was something super small. So there was essentially 3 instructors and 2 students.
oh,
But at the end of it, I was able to send my package file to myself through Google Drive, and I'm going to download the Unity stuff and play around with it a little bit more.
and like I'm gonna put my interview hat on. I've been interviewing people for a good 2-3 years now. I'm gonna put my interviewer hat and talk to you about this for a second, and ask you like what's one of your biggest takeaways from like going to Unity and like and hanging out there. What's like, one of like the most memorable things that like you can think about sharing with us about being there?
Well, one of the things I've always known that a lot of these game engines have their own asset store, but this was the first time that I was actually able to go in and I actually downloaded some 3D assets that were free from the asset store and just kind of threw them in there, and but I was able to understand for the first time how that process works, because we know like Unreal, their asset store is ridiculously amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of times they make entire games like Epic themselves and then will put it out. Like the game Paragon, it was a free to play competitive MOBA early on in the PS4 generation. And Paragon was kind of like the big game Epic was banking on when Fortnite was just coming out. Now Fortnite pays for everything. Like the money Epic makes from Fortnite is just so ludicrous. Like they give developers better revenue splits on their store. Like Fortnite has given them, they sell their virtual currency at a discount now because they were just making so much money. They're like, okay, we
Insane.
can just like give you V-Bucks for just cheaper now because we made so much money off V-Bucks. So for me, it was interesting. Like I know the Unreal store, like so the game Paragon I was talking about, when they shut that game down, they put all the character models, all the animation rigs, all the levels, all the everything from the was made for that game just up for free on the Unreal Asset Store. The Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, the entire city, all the assets, like the metahumans, which are their like 3D models of humans. Like they call them metahumans because they like are AI assisted and looking real. Like there are
Okay.
some tech demos out there of Unreal Engine 5 metahuman tech demos that are just like ridiculously good. And so all the work that they did for that tech demo, that essentially they partnered with Warner to make it like a Matrix movie tie-in thing. Uh, that massive city, that entire thing is just up for anybody to use. Like if you wanted to make an open world game, you wouldn't have to start by making the open world. It's just a fully realized 3D city with like traffic patterns and just like a bunch of stuff. Like
Yeah.
what I
I'm looking at the gameplay right now on YouTube. Like the gameplay is massive. Like the quality is
yeah,
impeccable.
and
It
all
looks
of
like
that's just on the Unreal store for free.
wow.
So like if you're developing an Unreal, like I said today, I worked in Unity, and there were a couple times where I had to write scripts, and I am terrible at coding. Like I am not a programmer. That is not my area of expertise. Like I have a hard time wrapping my mind around it, but I was eventually like able to make something that was a working product today.
What you come
So,
up with?
hmm?
What'd you come up with? Like what was your end result?
Well, it's so we had to figure out how to program the ground. So I made a big flat green ground, and I made an orange cube that was the player character, and I made these blue cubes that had an AI to, if they noticed you, like all the cubes had a front side. If the blue cubes, if you passed within their cone of vision, essentially, they would follow you. And if they caught you, I made the UI for a game over screen. And so it was as simple as run away, be the orange square, and run away from the blue squares. And I got to play around with the blue squares. Like, the AI in them would get really confused because I had programmed them not to go over the edge. But I could go over the edge, so I would do interesting things where I would have the orange cube aggro like 3 blue cubes and then just jump off the edge and see what they did, trying to follow because they couldn't follow.
Anton became a god today, guys. This is crazy. Oh my goodness. He started creating life. So if I had to explain this to my kids, it's essentially Minecraft for adults is what it sounded like you were doing. That's pretty cool. I dig it.
It's what I describe it as is like a twin stick shooter, but just with like the most rudimentary graphics you could possibly like.
I mean, you said Q, so I hear that.
Like actual just orange cube. It wasn't, but like think about anything like Geometry Wars or Super Stardust or any games like that. It was essentially that because it was from a top-down perspective. So like I was building everything in 3D, but then I put the camera where it would travel above the plane, and the camera would follow the block. So like you had your area around you could see, and I was kind of just moving the game camera along with the movement of the orange cube on the green plane, and then the blue cubes would follow you. And so, but you wouldn't be able to tell, like if there was one all the way on the other side of the arena, they'd have to come within a certain distance for you to be able to see them with the way the game camera was placed.
But you're confident. Like you seem like, you got into it. You had some fun. Like you created like a Splatoon kind of type game. That's fun. I like that. That's nice. Or is it like a weekly event, and like is it gonna happen again? Are you going back to this place?
Well, they're having a game jam for people already developing. So
okay.
And that's next month as of recording. So it looks like next month is an hour away from my house. So that's one of the limiting factors about consistently going and working with this group of people. But
right. Unless you're carpooling, fuck that.
Yeah, but I mean, even because I know a few other people who are interested in development and would really enjoy going to something like this, because it's not like a really big thing. It's just, like I said, it was 5 people in a like conference room at a Gwinnett County Public Library. It wasn't, in the inner sanctum of Epic Games, right next to like the actual Tesseract they have or something. It wasn't.
So you tell me I should be hyping this up as much as I am. No, I get you. I hear what you're saying. But it was cool. It's not like you still have fun regardless. But it's not something you want to do every single week. I get that.
But yeah,
right on, man. Like, is it prompting you like to keep on making your own type of games? Is that like the next step for Anton Sixx?
Well, maybe not necessarily. For me, it's a good way to understand like the tool set, like, and when games bug out and weird things happen. The amount of weird bugs I encountered with something as simple as what I made today, in comparison to like how complex the games that I actually play on a regular basis are, like, if I was dealing with bugs with essentially like 3 things, like 3 elements in play, and these games will have crowds of thousands of on-screen, like, interactable NPC things happening at a time. Like, there's this game, Humanity, that's coming out soon. There's gonna supposedly be a PlayStation exclusive. It's still, like, kind of unclear. Like, they announced the game at a PlayStation showcase, but then after that, we haven't gotten much information about it. But Humanity is one of those games that is like, it's entirely about the mentality of crowds and like the psychology, like crowd psychology.
Okay.
And while those look like simple, like 3D, like stick figure esque models, having thousands of them all interacting and all having collision and AI and like all the different things that go into just having a character in a game, essentially. Like, it's just going to be interesting to see how they play with the toolbox that they have with the game.
It sounds like what you're saying, like your whole experience is it's making you a little bit more humbling when it comes like the talking about and reviewing games in the future. Am I gathering that correctly, or like you got like
Well,
a different perspective on it?
I have always had a deep respect for game developers and programmers and coders and developers, because that's just not a tool set. Like, even when I try, like today, the hardest part was the coding part. Like,
Okay.
because I'm not used to coding. Like, as far as understanding how, like, working in like the visual end of it, but the actual, when it came time to have your open brackets and your if then statements in C sharp, and when that stuff starts coming into play, I will admit I am lost. I am probably the least knowledgeable person. Like, if I'm having a conversation with someone about development language, odds are that they know more about development language than me. And so I've always had a respect, but now that respect is deepened somewhat, I'd say, because of now I've never messed around in Unity before, but today I was actually able to mess around in Unity. So
Mm.
I have a little bit more context, like Super Saiyan Games from the Atlanta area making his first person anime mech VR game that looks almost AAA in quality. I know that is an enormous undertaking, and he's been working on it for years, but he also works in Unity. And so seeing, it's like going from sticks and stones to holding an iPhone instantly. It's like what I was working with was, yeah, sticks and stones. I could kind of see how to make a arrowhead, or like in that example, but I wouldn't know how to go from making rudimentary tools to manufacturing technology, you know?
No, I get that. I get that completely. Like, you got like a lot of perspective. It sounds like from doing this whole thing, like not just one perspective, but like many different perspectives. That's interesting.
Right. I can think about the amount of games I play, the amount of people I know who, and the amount of games that they play, and the amount of. I don't know that many developers, but every developer that I've met and talked to, like, it's definitely a skill set that is extremely in demand right now. Like, if you can program a game and you are confident in your skills, I don't see why you wouldn't be working in development. Because I could also see it being extremely rewarding. Like, I talked to a guy at the Game Developers Association meeting, and he was one of the first 200 people in the entire planet to work in Unity. And he's like, yeah, I've built assets for like Madden and like all these different things. And he's like, I can walk into a GameStop right now and see multiple games just on the shelf that my name is in the credits as a developer. And I'm like, yeah, that's a flex. Like, that is.
I mean, yeah, yeah, it is definitely. It's definitely something like you want to boast and put out there. That's a hell of an achievement. At least I, at least you want to do more myself here and stuff like that. That's cool. But as I was saying also about the gaming areas in Atlanta, there's Fugo Studios, there's High Res, there's
Yeah. I've been to High Res, and going to High Res was one of those experiences that lit a fire under me of, I gotta do more. Like, I gotta get myself into an environment like this. Of, like, right now I work my 9 to 5, and like, I mean, it pays the bills, but I'm never like stimulated by my job, but just walking around in high res when there were barely any people there, like it was just desks with computers, with collectibles. Like you see, I love my collectibles.
Yeah.
When you walk past a cubicle with just a bunch of like figurines on top of it, and it's like, oh, like I don't even know whose desk this is, but this person's a cool person that I would love to be my coworker.
I dig it. I have a friend who works for PlayStation. She tells me the same thing, that it's always a good time like at PlayStation. Like she loves her job more than anything else. Like she wouldn't change working at PlayStation for anything. And like I really hear people talk about that, but like having someone say that about like working at PlayStation, like I believe it.
And I know PlayStation. While PlayStation is a really big company, like Hi-Rez makes 3 games. They make Paladins, they make Smite, and they make Global Agenda. And apparently, not Global Agenda. That was their old game. I don't think Global Agenda is around anymore. What is it? Rogue Company. That's their 3rd game. So Paladins, Smite, and Rogue Company are their 3 ongoing games. And for a developer of that size, where everybody who works for the company is essentially in the building, like PlayStation's a global company, but for even some of these bigger scale developers that are local,
yeah,
like having that kind of pool of just like expertise, and like you're not going to work at a game studio if you're not a gamer. So like just having a job where you have that baseline like commonality with your coworkers, it just sounds awesome to me.
It does sound pretty damn badass. It's not something I want to get involved in, and like hearing this out loud makes me think to myself, whenever we get a chance, I think Table Cheese should go to different like esports arenas. I know we talked about 404. Yeah. I may have to apologize to like the owner of 404 when I get there, but definitely 404. I called him out like not having enough women inside of his location when he talked about having women inside of his location. But that's like an apology I gotta make when I see him to face and go from there. But 404 Contender Esports, I think they have like multiple locations. Contender. I think there's Silk Shot, Pulse Work, AXR.
Well, AXR, I actually had AXR is formerly Access Replay, and I actually had a job interview with them right before COVID. So
no way.
That was like, I still know some of the people who work at a higher level at AXR, and I know Skillshot is actually associated with Hi-Rez. Like they're more of like an esports broadcasting kind of setup, and
interesting.
And I know, talking to you as another podcaster, like when you get into the broadcasting end of things is when I can get really nerdy and technical. And
that's the fun stuff right there. Right. You can talk about like the history being made. I love that.
Right. So yeah, Skillshot, like I'm familiar with quite a few of them, of just like going to the Game Developers Association and like just networking, because that's one of the things when I get into a room with other people passionate about gaming, it's, even if I go there in a promoting myself and my brand kind of way, like while putting the time and the energy into that part of it is important, at the same time, like I'd much rather have like a high level intelligent conversation with somebody about the value of podcasting and Twitch streaming to game studios, because that's one thing Hi-Rez has understood, is Hi-Rez understands that their players, their communities, their esports contenders, like those are the people who are going to be pushing the game the most. Like they do buy advertising on like the side of buses and stuff like that, but they're probably going to get more players from someone like me going to my group of friends and saying, hey everybody, or my Twitch audience, like me playing a game and somebody in my Twitch audience seeing the game, like me enjoying the game and deciding, hey, maybe that's something I want to check into myself. So
see, now you guys get why I'm talking about all these places on the podcast, because of what he just said. So yeah, like make sure you keep listening to Table Cheese. We will be hitting up. So I want to hit up some of these places. I don't know if you'll be tagging along or not, but I'm gonna bring my computer. I mean, it sounds like fun. Just having like a little podcast, watching folks do their things. Like I feel like that's a dream come true, man.
Yeah, and I mean, every time I've been able to do it, like, and not always does it translate to ending up on like content. Like a lot of times I'll go somewhere and I'll see something really cool and like there's not really an avenue for me to talk about it essentially in any way, like in a product that'll be out on the internet, but just like having that additional perspective, just having those new experiences and having that community kind of feeling like you're part of a community, even when you're just like you've just been somewhere and seen some people, it's a good feeling.
I get that. Like I was gonna say, like you kind of like touched on what I was about to say. Like it's like also getting that fire under you being lit a little bit. Also, like you get that experience, you get that fun, you get to see like that different avenue that you may not be used to going to different places. And like you get to see the familiar faces if you do it more often. So no,
Right.
I hear you. I hear you completely.
Like that was the thing. The guy who taught the main instructor for the Unity class, his boss is the one that gave me the information about the class when I was at the Game Developers Association event, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing you at the game developers thing," and that was kind of like even the people that he was working with. It was like, "Oh, well, this guy was there. Like, he obviously is somebody who is serious about this." So
Exactly. And like that's always a good thing to take with you, no matter what you're doing. There is something I wanted to touch on. Like I got two topics I want to bring up. One we talked about a little bit earlier about I'm gonna bring it a little bit later on. But this is something that I didn't talk about you before the show, but I want to see your opinion. We talked about this in a previous episode, but I really want to get like your lowdown on this. It's the backbone controller.
okay.
I know it has like a reputation. I'm not sure like how your reputation is on this, but it is out. It is for Android and iPhone. The base for this is it's pretty much like you can play your games from PlayStation on your cell phone, like through your PlayStation with this controller. So a lot of folks can play whatever games they have on their PlayStation or games that are specifically made for this backbone controller on their phone. And I wanted to ask you, do you think this is going to change how folks play video games? Is it going to like die out in a couple of years? Is it like not as hyped as like maybe some people are making it seem? Like, what are your thoughts on this backbone controller?
Well, I was looking to see because I have. So, the Backbone controller itself is just a brand with good marketing for a product that's been around for a while. Like, I was looking for my equivalent of a Backbone controller, which I'm not going to spend $100 on a Backbone controller, but I did buy a clip that goes for a DualShock 4. So,
I got
just
one
like
too.
a PS4
like
controller.
$40 on it.
Right, and I just clip it around the controller, put my phone in the clamp, and I've played some games like that. And I mean, ever since Android and iOS, like Android was better about it sooner, but iOS has added the ability to pair Bluetooth controllers to your phone.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of opened up, like, because I know for certain people, like younger kids and like even people like younger adults are completely fine playing a game entirely on a touchscreen. Like even with like digital buttons, like swipe your finger to like control like an analog stick kind of thing. Like for me, that kind of gameplay has just never worked. It's because like I started off with Game Boy, you know, and like having those tactile buttons and like knowing you push a button and an action happens and having that accuracy of you're hitting the A button when you tap your finger without looking. Like
No, yeah, I get that.
That like actual like tactile buttons, the immediate feedback, like that is something that is valuable to me. Like my desk is covered in controllers. There's a reason it wasn't easy to just pull out. It's controllers everywhere. And so
Oh my goodness, you just got a handful over there. My goodness.
yeah, a Switch controller, 2 PlayStation controllers, an Xbox controller, it's another Switch controller over there, some Joy-Cons. Like for me, having a controller in my hand, like a good quality controller, is a good feeling.
Everything.
Yeah, like
no, I get that.
It's part of, for me, like the controller part of cheesy controller is like the controller.
Yeah.
So for me, that's always something that's important. And like the backbone interests me not because I would spend that much time necessarily playing stuff on my phone. it's for the times like my PlayStation's in my office, and when I'm in my bedroom and I'm just sitting there and I'm scrolling on my phone, I could be doing some random something in some game, So the Backbone's appealing for that. But I mean, in my opinion, if that's the thing standing in the way from you playing games on your phone, like I have never been one to really think that, like a lot of people would like, what equipment do I need? What do I need to invest in to kind of get started with doing this? And like the barriers have become so low, especially lately. Like there were a lot of artificial walls and barriers and stuff beforehand, but like we're in the 21st century. 2022 is like crazy. Like if there's something you want to do or accomplish, like odds are you can at least start on your way to accomplishing it without spending any money, without buying any equipment, without anything. Like podcasting, like people like, oh well, I need to get this crazy mic or I can't start podcasting. No, I mean you got a phone in your hand right now, so
like that's all you really need. Like you don't even need like you don't even need these like wireless headphones or wired headphones. You don't even need that. Just use your phone and you're good to go. That's all you really need.
Right. Like we started no microphone. We were using the built-in microphone in a MacBook. Like we sat around a MacBook outdoors. Like the audio quality was garbage, but it was a start.
You build it, they will come. That's all it takes. Yeah.
Right. And so for me, Backbone, it's like, yeah, if you have the extra $100 to just buy this and you see yourself, or you're already playing games on your phone and you just know you'd like a controller to go along with those games, because with Apple Arcade, like that was one of the big things. Like Apple Arcade removed a lot of the barriers to like pairing controllers to your phone on iPhone. And
that's literally why I bought my controller, was for that. And like the funny thing is, I bought an XR. The damn thing didn't fit anymore. That's exactly why I got a controller that's similar to the Backbone for only app-based games, but it doesn't even fit my controller anymore. So no, I hear that.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing with the Backbone is Apple, like they're relatively consistent, but they're like 1 year over the other, they'll make their phone like a hair thicker to fit one additional component, and then it just your cases don't carry forward, so accessories that depend on the size and shape of your phone remaining consistent, you just can't bank on that.
You're done though. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you completely. All right, so like it sounds like your final review on the Backbone is if you have the money, it's worth having, but it's not like a must-have. And if you don't have the money, you're not really missing out on anything. So there you go.
Right, yeah. If you have any controller, like I would say any controller from the last couple generations, but PlayStation actually was using Bluetooth with the PS3, PS4, and PS5 controllers. Like they all have Bluetooth receivers, but Xbox, up until midway through the Xbox One generation, they had like a proprietary radio, which was better for more stable connections, but it's not good for connecting to other things. But like this Xbox, I got a Xbox Series X controller, one of like the newest ones, and this controller is great of just being able to hook up through Bluetooth to my computer, to my Xbox, to my phone, and just have this one controller and do all the things with it.
That question a while ago on Twitter, like what controller should I get for my computer, and everyone said like either Xbox or PlayStation. They're all Bluetooth, doesn't matter.
DualShock 5. So my top two controllers right now are the Nintendo Switch Pro controller and I called it the DualShock 5, the DualSense controller. But I'd say probably the Nintendo Switch Pro controller is your best option because the battery life on it's really great. The build quality on it's really great. Like, it charges through USB-C. So it's give and takes to the best controller to use, but as long as you make sure the controller has Bluetooth and it's mainly by feel. Like, I've always liked the parallel sticks of PlayStation controllers, and, like, my mind, when I think of the button that's up. I think triangle. Some people think Y. Nintendo players think X.
No, I don't even understand that. X is at the bottom. Come on. X is at the bottom. Everyone knows that.
Well, no. Not on the Nintendo controller.
Weird. So weird. I could never get used to that. My kid plays Nintendo all the damn time. Like, and I see X, like I always hit like it B. So no, I get it. I can't get into it. It's too much for me. I'm an old head though, so that's what it is. But we got one more story. I think like you may have something after this, but I really want to get into this whole thing because I feel like this is something that I like. If this was a thing in gaming, it would get me back into game. If it was like it was more prevalently seen in gaming, I'm telling you, I would get back into gaming just to do stuff, but just so I can be a part of like an exclusive club. Call it what you want to call it, but it sounds like some old old bro type stuff. But I like it. I think it's cool. It shows like an achievement. Like it's an achievement you can walk around with. Is how I see it. But the raid jacket for King's Fall in Destiny 2. There's like this cool bomber jacket. It looks pretty boss. Like I gotta tell you, like I see like the logo over like the breastplate. It has like a little design down the sleeve. I think it's $125 to buy, but you have to beat this raid to get this jacket. And like I was talking to you about this like before the show, there's not many games that do things like this. Like we got like tons of loot crates, we got like tons of passes. I think you guys talking about battle passes. I've been hearing about that quite a few times too. Mm-hmm. Like it's something that you can buy in games, especially like shooter games, platformer, things like that. But like there's not many things you can buy for achieving such tasks in these games. And this is one of the first time I heard about this. Like I'm telling you, man, I was at the gym when I heard this. Who you guys talking about? Like my eyes just lit up. Like, wait, what? Like you can buy a jacket from the game company for beating a certain raid, and like only you can get this for beating this raid. Like you can't cheat the system,
right?
By being like you have to do this to get this. Like hell, yes, that's it. Like through the icon that pop up on my screen, I want like stuff like this. And like, why do you think like this hasn't caught on? Like for other games, like is it like just not? Do fans just not care about stuff like this, or like is it gonna get bigger? Like what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, so it just seems like Destiny was the first game to and I mean they've done different things where it's like, oh, we have an exclusive in-game emblem, and so the only way to unlock the emblem is to donate to charity and stuff like that. So they've had different things, and I know they've had a few different jackets. They've had rings. They've had like championship like wrestling belts. Like if you get world first in some of these raids, because that's the thing. I'd say about once a year we get a new raid in Destiny, and it's always kind of the race to do the world first. And so King's Fall is being handled a little bit differently because it's a raid that was in Destiny 1 and is just tweaked a bit for Destiny 2. So it's not like a entirely new thing where people are hopping in and not knowing what to do and just kind of brute forcing their way further in it. Like the King's Fall raid is a known quantity. I've completed the King's Fall raid in Destiny 1, and if I were to go in and do it in Destiny 2, for the most part, I remember what to do. And so it's just a matter of execution at that point. So they've kind of changed the rules a little bit on how they handle it. But I think the thing about it is Destiny's Bungie are kind of the pioneers of like interacting with your game outside of the game. Like I remember
that last episode, yeah.
They were the first ones to really have like your online stat tracking. Like you used to be able to go through Halo Waypoint or it was something before it was called Waypoint, but you were able to go to Bungie.net. It's still Bungie.net. Like after all this time, where you were able to look at your kill-death ratio, like where you died on the multiplayer map you were playing on last time you played. Like they had these things that kind of connected to the outside world from within the game, and so they were kind of like early on with doing that. And I mean, they have a merch store where you can buy like Cyberpunk, the jacket from Cyberpunk. That's that really dope bomber jacket. That was something that was just for sale to the general public. And the way that they do it right now with Destiny is they'll put an item on their shop, like the jacket, but they'll charge $1 billion if you don't have a discount code. Like literally $1 billion. Because nobody's
funny.
going to spend that $1 billion to get that jacket, and then when you beat the raid or do certain things within game, because like the jacket is one thing, but like your player emblem affects a lot in the game. It affects like your player card. It affects the way your menus look in a certain way. So like emblems in Destiny are something that, like, there are some that are as easy as go to this planet for the first time, but then there are ones that are like, oh, beat the raid on the hardest difficulty or stuff like that. So if you look into the kind of emblem chase with Destiny, that's one of the things that they'll definitely always do a lot of creative things with, because like I get emails, they're like, oh well, you set up cross save with Destiny 2. So within Destiny, they know that my Bungie.net account, that has been the same Bungie.net account that I've been using since the Halo Reach days, that like when Destiny started, I got something for being a player of Halo. When Destiny 2 first boots up, well, I don't know if it does this anymore, but like when Destiny 2 was a box game that you had to pay $60 for, when I got Destiny 2 home and the servers went live and I started playing the game, it remembered what I did in Destiny 1. It showed me the raids I had completed in Destiny 1 and the date and the time I completed them and the fire team that I had with me. And it was like, at this point, this had been years ago. Like, it was probably 4 years between Destiny and Destiny 2. And the first one I played within the first year of Destiny. And I was like, I don't even know where some of these people are, but I definitely remember finishing this raid with these people. And so that's one of the good things. Like, I know people get annoyed a lot when you have to make you buy a game, you bring it home, you put it in your console, you start it up, and they're like, hey, either log into your Rockstar, Bethesda, like the amount of different logins that, like Square Enix, like pretty much every big publisher has like a login.
A lot of folks talked about that when the first Kingdom Hearts came out and the second one came out, and like they wanted to transfer all their old information to the new game, and you couldn't do that. So I remember that.
And so the best way for that to happen right now, and like now with cross-gen, because like GTA, if you bought GTA 5 day one on PS3, because of the Rockstar Social Club, you could export that character from PS3, bring them to PS4, export that character from PS4, bring them to PS5. And certain games are even better about it than like how Rockstar does it, where you don't have to stay in the same console family. You just like, and I mean that's how Destiny's cross save works right now. My Destiny character that I've been leveling and playing on PlayStation, if I were to go in my bedroom, turn on the Xbox, and open up Destiny, those exact characters, the exact guns, the exact everything are just over on my Xbox save.
That's insane. I'm looking at it right now. Like they call it migrate. Like I didn't know you can do that with GTA characters. You can just migrate characters over.
Yeah, and so like people always complain, and like I get that it's kind of an annoying thing of having another username and password to deal with. Just like everybody on everything has a million usernames, a million passwords. Like, you get tired of having accounts. Like, sometimes there'll be something online and they're like, oh, set up an account. And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing whatever it was. It's not that serious.
I'm not going to be here that long. Stop bugging me. No, I get it.
Right. So, but I mean, Bungie were some of the pioneers of this, having Bungie.net and linking it to whatever account you're using, and then being able to read that information outside of just that account on wherever you started it.
Now, I see where you're going with this. It seems like not many people do this, and Bungie does it, but it seems like there's some only few that do it. I was looking it up as you were talking about it. Like there aren't many people who really do trackers. I see that Fortnite has some tracking, but not as prominent.
And that's one of the things with Fortnite, and because Fortnite did cross play and cross progression before Destiny.
Okay.
because
Okay.
they started doing the networking work on the like engine end of Unreal Engine, and they accidentally, like, this is a great story that I always love. Like, early on there were a lot of games pushing for crossplay, because if you have all your players in one big pool, it's easier to get players for activities than if you, like, if you were playing on, I'll use Stadia as an example because it's one of the most random things that just kind of fits into this equation. I played Destiny on PlayStation. I've played Destiny on PlayStation since I started playing Destiny. If you came into the game new, were playing on Stadia, were really hardcore, and you're like, hey, I know you were talking about playing Destiny. You want to play together sometime. But in the olden days, I would have to either get you to start over on PlayStation, or you'd have to get me to start over on Stadia.
Yeah.
And so
Okay. Yeah.
Epic one day accidentally, like, a bunch of companies were pushing for crossplay, because like Fortnite was the first one to my knowledge. Well, there are a couple weird examples, like Final Fantasy 14 is cross progression, but like that's handled by your Square Enix account. So you log into your Square Enix account on PlayStation, and it has all your game time, your character, everything like that, and you can play on PlayStation. Same deal when you go, like, I know there's a Steam version of Final Fantasy, but there's also just the PC, like, core version of Final Fantasy. And so if I were to get a Steam Deck and I wanted to play Final Fantasy 14, I can play it confidently knowing I'm not starting over. I don't have to put the thousands of hours I've put into that game into the exact same game, just on a different platform.
So that's it sounds like demand for it isn't there. Like, if I can break down what you're saying to me about like this jacket and like the crossplay and like the merch and and like the tracker and all that, it seems like some places have it. There just isn't a high demand for it, like on all platforms when it comes like to different types of games. And like I feel like I know I said this earlier, but I would get a game, get Destiny 2, beat that raid just about his jacket, so I will constantly talk about it because I have it and I see no one else talking about it. I'm gonna make a TikTok video about this once we get off of this, just to let you know, because I want this jacket. Like, period.
Well,
Period.
yeah. I mean, I look forward to seeing it. Hopefully, you post it over on Instagram or Twitter, because I've legit opened TikTok on my phone probably 3 times ever.
All right. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Not a fan of TikTok, huh?
Well, for me, it's just kind of like I I'm not the biggest fan of consuming social media. Like, I understand social media's place in like putting information out there, giving your hot take on whatever. Like I'm more of a poster to social media than a consumer. And like TikTok is very much aimed at consuming. And I had my phase where I did Vine, and like my two primary things are putting up random stuff on my Instagram story and watching people's Instagram stories. I don't even scroll that far on Instagram anymore because it's just so inundated with ads and just like people you don't follow or know or anything, and it's just like this person's just on my timeline, so that's great. Like,
That's there. Yeah.
right.
Thanks, Facebook. I mean, Instagram. Like,
Right, and TikTok is a lot of the similar problems I have with just being, like, when I was younger, I was a consumer. Like, I'd spend a lot of time on Tumblr. I'd really like do those things. Like, I had a lot of fun with Vine when Vine was a thing, but I mean, now I'm an adult with limited time and limited effort, and limited attention, and TikTok's just one of those things. Like, I'll see if there's a TikTok that's just really, really good, I'll see it somewhere else. Like, all the really biggest TikToks, I either, like, somebody will post them in the Discord, or I'll see them on my timeline on Twitter, or someone will put it in their Instagram story on Instagram. Like, but for me, going to TikTok, there's nothing like I'll go to YouTube to, like, because I can, YouTube has a search function so I can find the stuff that I'm looking to watch, but just leaving my fate up to the algorithm, like, that's time I got to kind of invest into
We gotta talk about that next episode. We gotta talk about like the difference between TikTok and YouTube. We gotta talk about
Right,
that
and
for sure.
the crazy thing is, in YouTube's opinion, TikTok is their biggest competition. TikTok and Snapchat are the competition to YouTube in YouTube's opinion.
Snapchat's for porn, whatever. I'm caring about this. Snapchat is for seeing adult content. That's what Snapchat is for. It's that's the only reason why it's a competition to anybody. But I get like the feed they have on Snapchat, but like Snapchat is gonna be dying out soon. I wholeheartedly believe
I'm
that.
surprised 'cause when Snapchat did. I remember there was like a year where they just shot themselves in the foot over and over.
Yeah.
They were like, they on their like featured page had a thing, who was wrong, Chris Brown or Rihanna, and it like
they lost a lot of followers with that.
Yeah, and I just like, I used to be on Snapchat, like I'd use my Snapchat story, I just post random stuff, like see other people's Snapchat stories, but and I mean to this day I know people who still use Snapchat, and I continuously ask them of why. Like to me it's a dead platform. Like it's like using MySpace. Like
that's how I see it. I think Kendall Jenner was the person like who really like cemented it for me when she said like I'm deleting my Snapchat account because it's boring to me. And like after that, like I was like, well, they lost like a lot of investors after that happened, and I don't think they recovered since. I think they're trying to, but I don't think it's going to happen for them. If between you and me, I feel like they are focusing more on like putting mostly like a certain type of people on a platform and not being more well-rounded of other content creators. So I think like that's
the weird thing about Snapchat is Snapchat, in my opinion, is more like translatable to texting somebody.
Yeah.
It's just like, but it's using a third-party app, which like I get other countries where WhatsApp's like prevalent and stuff, but like here in the States, like
why would you need that?
Right. We have iMessage and we have text messaging. Like,
and like if it wasn't that, we have Instagram. Well, a lot of us use Instagram for things like that. So why would you need that?
Instagram stole the stories thing from Snapchat and just completely
they ran with it, dude.
Right.
They ran with it. Like, so wait, you tell me I can look at my friends' pictures and I can look at their stories in the same place? Like, yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna tell Snapchat to F off. So then that's what happened. So
yeah.
That's all I have for this week of Table Cheese. I swear to you guys, next week we're gonna get much more interesting topics. We're still trying to figure out how we're gonna like plan out all this stuff. But so far it's been fun. Yeah. Like listening to you talk about Unity, that was a good time hearing about that, man. And I gotta find a way to make these bomber jackets cool, dude. I want to make sure like pay to play is this. I want this to be pay for play, like pay to play to get like cool merch from companies, because that's. I'm gonna be old.
I mean,
that could be it.
They just kind of take the barrier of being, because there is an edition of Elden Ring that is just amazing. It has a full-size replica of the helmet, a real legitimate sword, like a statue of Melania, the hardest enemy. Well, arguably the hardest enemy for me in the entire game. And they only sent it out to content creators. But something like that, like I would pay money to get an Elden Ring sword.
See, that's the problem. Like I don't need like content creators like to have these merch, man. Like cool. I mean, like it's cool to see them talk about it. I can give them like a display with their cool lights and awesome cameras. But like I want that kind of stuff, man.
Right. And like I think just Bungie's the only one that blurred that line of like because like all these things, like there's a PlayStation Gear store which has really cool like officially licensed PlayStation merch, and that's one thing, and like people have been getting better about that. Like I remember for a long time getting a shirt with a video game character on it was like a task. Like
it was top. Yeah.
Like you would have to put in legitimate effort for that, and so it's gotten a lot better. And like figurines, things like amiibos. Like I remember for a long time the figurine market, and I mean there are still expensive figures out there that if you want to spend money on that, like you can do that. But
I remember everyone, their uncle wanted a damn amiibos. I remember that like vividly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the entire Smash Bros. Run
You don't
from
say.
Smash 4.
You don't say. I never would have guessed that, Anton. Never.
And the funny thing is, the majority of my amiibos, like I probably have like 20 amiibos on that shelf back there, but outside of that, like I had easily over 100 amiibos.
I can honestly see that. No insult, no shame, mind you, but like that does not surprise me in the slightest.
Right. So yeah, props to Bungie for not just having a merch shop, not just giving stuff to whatever quote unquote influencer you want promoting your product, like having a way for a normal everyday Joe to get into your game and reward them for getting into your game.
I'm gonna make it a thing. I'm telling you, I'm gonna rip that video from YouTube, like the King's Raid. I'm gonna show this awesome jacket, and I'm gonna put it on my TikTok before I post it everywhere else, and I'm gonna make it a thing. I'm gonna have people talking about it because it doesn't have a name. There's no name attached. It's not what I can see. Like, is it an urn to play? Well, what do they call this? Like these raid jackets, these raid items.
It's just like physical rewards. Like games have been always really good about giving you digital rewards, and Bungie said, "Hey, what's cooler than an in-game emblem like a physical pin?" You know.
Physical reward, digital reward. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'll get my thesaurus and find something else that's a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah, I mean, coin the term. Like that's part of the road of progress that we need to be on to get this more widely adopted. Because free to play wasn't free to play until like some of the big early free to play games came out and started calling themselves that. And
yeah,
and that's like games as a service. Like games as a service wasn't a term in the gamer lexicon a few years ago, but now games as a, like when I say games as a service, if you are a gamer, you know exactly what I mean. And so,
and like all they want is my money anyway. Like this is like I feel better off giving them money for things that I can wear and show off that like I did X, Y, and Z than just buying 20 more bucks of a $60 game I already paid for. Like that's ridiculous to me. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So there we go. I think that's the show. Anything else you want to talk
about? No, I think that's good for this week, you know. Well, I promise, like, for everybody listening that just thinks I'm like this Destiny evangelist, like, Destiny's not the only game I play. Monster Hunter's not the only game I play.
Oh, I was gonna call you out too. I was gonna
Final Fantasy's not the only game I play. Like,
I was so gonna call you out on that. Like, no, it's Monster Hunter. That's the game he plays all the time.
Yeah. By the time we record again, Splatoon 3 will be out, and I love me some Splatoon. So
you getting hyped about that? Yeah. Make sure you listen to the latest episode of Chessy Controller because he goes on and on about Splatoon. Him and his buddies on Chessy Controller go on and on about that new game coming out. So yeah.
Because Splatoon 2 is one of those games. I threw it in my Switch the other day. But I'm excited. I'm getting this one digitally, so it'll just be on my system at all times. I have my SplitPad Pro, so yeah, I'm ready to go.
Next month, now I got 2 months from now, November, and then that's when like the big baddie come out, and everyone's gonna be on their consoles. No one's going outside. No one's gonna be talking about football. It's gonna be just God of War Ragnarok. That's
the beginning of November, and then the end of November is Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. I'm not a big Call of Duty fan, but I know everyone else who plays games, even non-shooters, love this damn game for some reason. It's a zombie feature. I swear it's a zombie feature.
Well, the interesting thing about this Call of Duty is it's called Modern Warfare 2. They rebooted the Modern Warfare franchise a few years back, and that, in my opinion, is one of the best modern Call of Duty games. Like,
seen it in action, it looks gorgeous. Like, this seems fluid. It seems a lot more stable than like the other Call of Warfare games. Like, I hear you completely.
And so this year they're doing the Modern Warfare reboot, but it's Modern Warfare 2. And so Modern Warfare 2 is my second favorite Call of Duty game, period. Like my favorite is Black Ops. If they were to remake the original Black Ops, like I'd be over the moon, but Modern Warfare 2 is a strong second, and to be getting a new Modern Warfare 2 in 2022, 10 years after the original Modern Warfare 2, like I'm stoked.
That's why I can see it. Like I'm pretty sure that was like in the height of like your gaming progression, like when more Modern Warfare 2 came out. Like I know like all the high school kids and like in college kids were talking about Modern Warfare 2. That was like on everyone's lips. That was the Fortnite of its time, Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
So yeah.
It was not pre-internet, but it was like pre-live service games of
Yeah.
service. It was the game.
It was a game for sure. Like even I had to get like I got a PlayStation 3 and I got an Xbox One when I 360 360 when that came out. Like I got it just so I can get that game, just so I can play with everybody else, because everyone I knew would not stop talking about that game. So I had to go out and I bought it for both consoles too, which is never do that crap.
Do I have Modern Warfare 2 might be one of the few games that I have a PS3 and a Xbox 360 copy of.
Because you know what I'm talking about, dude. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like now I will buy games on, like a few years ago for Black Ops 4, I bought the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 version because crossplay wasn't a common thing, and so like I'd get on Xbox and play with my Xbox friends and get on PlayStation and play with my PlayStation friends. So like Black Ops 4 I bought 2 copies of. But when I was in high school, I started off and I just had a PS3. And so I got all these games and like built up my collection of PS3 games. But then when I started getting summer jobs and stuff like that, and I bought an Xbox 360 and that kind of became my primary console, I would buy certain things again because like hopping in and playing a match of Modern Warfare 2 felt good no matter what. So I would get another copy of the game for Xbox 360 just because that was the console I was on primarily.
There you go. Thanks for going down memory lane with us. We are definitely some old heads. I think we got some lineage when it comes to our gaming life for sure. I'm Dee of F2 Under Talk. Make sure you follow F2 Under Talk. Follow me on follow this podcast. They hear myself some table cheese and all the other FTO podcasts. Anton, where can people find you?
People can find me around the internet, ChessyControllerPodcast.com. You can follow me specifically on Twitter at Anton Sixx with 3 X's. Instagram is Anton the number 6 with 2 X's, because I see a lot of your audience is on Instagram. So if you guys want to find me over there, I don't post often. You can follow me and see my story, but even that is sporadic. Like,
he's getting more into it. I've been noticing. He's been posting more pictures of himself and whatnot on there. Yeah. So, it may change.
Yeah, Twitter, but like, if you just want hot takes and, like, actual activity and, like, comments on public discourse and whatever, Twitter's the best place to find me. Twitter.com/Anton Sixx for your quick fix.
I like it. You're cool, dude, Anton. You're always cool. This is it. That's the show. Until next time, you guys... take it easy.
Keep it cheesy.